Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Kariatu, host of this channel. It's called African Crimes and Mysteries. The idea behind this channel is to cover and give voices to crimes that happen across Africa that normally you don't hear about. So the focus is to highlight crimes that happen in small towns, small villages, that normally would only get published through, like WhatsApp, Facebook, or just other social media means. Like these are the stories that normally you would not hear about, like in major news reports, like CNN, BBC, or any other famous newspaper or website that you might be aware of. Again, the idea is to just give voices to African stories that you normally don't hear about. So if you are interested in true crime stories, specifically ones from Africa, I would highly encourage you to consider subscribing to this channel. And most importantly, if you are in Africa or in the diaspora, or just anybody anywhere in the world, and you are interested in crime stories from Africa, and you know of a story that happened in your village, in your town, or just any other place in Africa that you are familiar with, and you want me to cover that story, please subscribe and leave a comment. You can even email me. All of my detail will be in my description. So again, my name is Kariatu. Welcome to my channel, African Crimes and Mysteries. Today, I want to talk about the recent crime incident that happened in Zimbabwe, and it involves Robert Mugabe's son, Bellarmine Chatunga Mugabe, being arrested. So remember to subscribe if you're watching. I know there's one person watching right now. So if you're watching, please leave a comment and, just be engaged, okay? So I want to talk about the shooting that happened in South Africa by Robert Mugabe's son. So his name is Bellarmine Chatunga Mugabe. I believe he's one of two sons. Mugabe is reported to have, a few children, and he is the youngest son. He has an older brother, and it was not clear if the brother also was in South Africa when this incident happened. I know that there was a cousin who was present with him, and that cousin actually ended up being arrested along with Bellamin. So I know there are a few family members or relations that were also in South Africa with him when this incident happened. So I just want to do like a brief overview of what happened. And I already have two episodes about this story posted in the channel. Again, so I just want to encourage you, if you're really interested in this story, check out the two videos that I already made and posted. And just let me know, especially after watching them, leave a comment about what you think happened. So Bellamy Tachunga Mugabe is the youngest son of the former ruler of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe. And Bellamin was arrested in Johannesburg, South Africa on February 19, 2026, after a shooting at his home. And the police say that a man at the house was shot in altercation. The victim was initially he was an employee at the property. And then it was said that he suffered a critical gunshot wound. And so, following this incident, Bellamin and another man who later on we will come to know as his cousin was arrested. and they were detained and taken to like a local police station. And the police initially treated this incident as attempted murder, and so the charges were based on that. So he was charged with attempted murder. And investigators said that when they arrived at the home, there was a lot of people. It was chaotic. They were trying to like get a report about what happened, but everyone had different versions. Like they were getting different versions from people, so they were not able to get a conclusive reports about what really happened, because everyone was just giving their own version, and it was all confusing. So and also some of the people were said to have been uncooperative, so they were not cooperating with the police. And so also a major um factor of this case is that they were not able to locate the firearm. So they went to the home. They know that somebody was shot. You know, it's obvious he was bleeding. The ambulance took him to the hospital, but then they were not able to find the gun. So how is it that somebody got shot, but we can't find the gun? So that already caused a lot of suspicion that something did happen in the home, but people were covering. You know, they're not coming forth. They were not being honest, and they're trying to hide the information from the police. And so also another thing, they were not sure what led to the incident. Like, why was this gardener shot? Like, nobody was cooperating with the police. They were not able to really get like at least some background information from anyone about what potentially may have led to the gardener being shot. So they arrested Bellamin and a cousin of his, and they were taken to the local police. And also, the shooting happened at a very wealthy neighborhood in South Africa. It's called Hyde Park. I mean, this is a neighborhood where you find mansions, you know, like expensive cars. So it's a pretty wealthy neighborhood. And if you're just, I mean, obviously, as I mentioned in the beginning, this crime involved the son of Robert Mugabe. And so, you know, they originally are from Zimbabwe, but following their dad losing power when he was overthrown, the family then moved to, well, they still lived in Zimbabwe, but they kind of transitioned back and forth between Zimbabwe and South Africa. And specifically, it said that this time it was just the children who were in South Africa living at this mansion when this incident happened. And so, you know, who is Bellamin? So, like I said, he's the youngest son of Zimbabwe's longtime ruler, Robert Mugabe, and he is the child of Mugabe and his the former first lady, Grace Mugabe. And Robert Mugabe ruled Zimbabwe for 37 years before he was removed through a military coup in 2017. And then he died a few years down the line in 2019. um you know, so obviously, like, because of that factor, because of the name, this case has attracted major attention across countries, across news media. And you know, so specifically people are wanting to know, like, because of the Mugabe name and because of the political influence of the family, people want to know, like, how is this case going to be handled? Or the police in South Africa going to do a proper investigation? Or you know, because of the family's name and because of the family's influence, is that going to come into play? You know, does it mean, as it often happens in Africa, if somebody has power, if somebody has influence, what happens is that, you know, they can use that influence to their own benefit. So somebody like the Mugabe family can have use their influence, even though they're not in power anymore. They can still use their influence, you know, money, wealth, you know, to kind of make things turn into their favor. So that's another huge aspect of this case where everyone is like wondering like how is this going to play out? Is the trial going to be fair? And so it's, a lot has happened, and we will get to the most recent update. But for now, I'm going back from the beginning. Thank you for joining me. I see somebody's on here. My name is Kariatu. I am the host of African Crimes and Mysteries, and we are talking about the recent arrest of Bellarmine Chatunga Mugabe, who was the son of the former leader of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe. And so, this family has a very interesting history. I know I mentioned that this case is like blowing up on social media across the news scape. But this is not like his actual arrest. Neither is it the first time for the family to be involved in like, a scandal. It's said that Bellamin's mother, Grace Mugabe, was also accused of assaulting a model in Johannesburg. So this is the second time a family member that is part of the Mugabe family that has committed a crime in Johannesburg in South Africa. So as I mentioned, the family frequently travels back and forth between South Africa and Zimbabwe. So it's something that they've been known to do, and as a result, they've been involved in several cases in South Africa too. And one of the brothers, and I think it's the older one, he also was previously charged with possession of drug possession. So this family, even with their time in Zimbabwe when Robert Mugabe was still in power, there was a lot of scandal surrounding the family. So many news report of them, abusing the wealth, stealing, the country's money. Bellamin particularly is well known for being very flashy. Like you can see videos of him online, pictures of him online, like buying new cars, expensive cars, traveling to expensive locations, partying, showing off like watches, outfits, and just, he was very like flamboyant and very just like attention seeking in a way. Like he just, he flaunted his family's wealth. Some people will say stolen wealth. He will flaunt it online on social media. And I remember, I think it was like around 2008 or 2018 when Zimbabwe was going through like really high inflation, and most of the country was struggling to like feed itself. The country was like, people could barely find food to eat, and he was online still bragging, showing off, buying cars. And so it shows like somebody that has a lack of empathy, and also just being out of touch with reality. Like how can you go online when the country that your dad is in charge of is most of the population, they're struggling to survive, and you go online and you're flaunting, the most recent car that you've purchased when people can barely buy a bag of rice to feed their children. So the family's history is a complicated one, because I think, Robert Mugabe is celebrated for, as a liberator, right? Like taking the rule from white minority in Zimbabwe, and, taking control of that, and, ending in some way colonialism in Zimbabwe. But at the same time, there's another part of it where, the family caused a lot of abuse of power. Anyone that was considered to be an enemy was murdered or locked up, or gotten rid of in some way. So, the family, it's a complex history, especially when you add other family members to Mugabe. So this is a family that he's coming from. And so initially, after he was arrested, Bellamin was taken to a court. And something funny that happened was they ended up taking him to like the wrong court. The police station, and they have to scramble back and take him to the right one. But eventually they did, and it was said that while he was at the police station, he like fainted several times. He fainted several times, and like, and I'm just assuming like it's probably because he's never been in a situation like that. Maybe in the past he was the one sending people to court, or maybe his dad or some family member was sending somebody to jail, and he's never had to be in that position. So it must have been a shock, to his system to now find himself in court in handcuffs. So he was taken to prison, and then he gave an affidavit explaining what happened. So according to Bellamin Mugabe, he said that an argument happened, and that the worker is actually his security guard. Initially, it said that the victim was a gardener, but according to the affidavit that Bellamin gave, the victim um is not just a gardener. Like, I guess, like, he did other things in addition to being like the security guard, but his main role was to be a security guard. And Bellamin said in his affidavit that when the security guard came to the home that day, he came with a gun. So he already came with a gun. So, and when he came, some argument happened. It wasn't clear. I'm trying to see what was the argument centering around. um hmm one second, let me try to find what the argument was about. um I don't think it was mentioned, but let me try to see, because he gave an affidavit, so it had to be detailed. um Let me see. Okay. Okay, so let me see, I'm trying to find let me see. All right, sorry. I'm trying to find I know there's a disagreement. He mentioned that an argument happened, a disagreement happened. I'm trying to find what the argument was about. Um let me see. Okay. Okay, and something I just wanted something I wanted to highlight is that the gardener, or the security guard who was shot, he didn't die. So he's still alive. He's in the hospital. So it's gonna be very interesting to like find out what he has to say about what happened. So everyone is like waiting anxiously for him to like give his own account of events. Something like so it can go two way. He might just collaborate what Chatunga reported, or he may have a different version of events, and there's no telling how his statement is going to impact the case. But I'm still trying to find out what the argument was about. I know there's an altercation, there's a disagreement, but I'm trying to find what the actual disagreement was about. Um, hmm. Okay. So it doesn't say, like, it doesn't say it's not clear what the specific disagreement was about, but according to Tatunga or Bellamin, he the affidavit that he presented to court, he suggested that the shooting was not intentional, it was accidental, and he said that the gardener or the security guard actually shot himself accidentally while they were struggling to get a hold of the gun. Obviously there's a lot of information missing, like what started the argument, what was the argument about. Initially when they said it was a gardener, I was like, what is a gardener doing with a gun? Like, who owns the gun? But then according to Bellamin's affidavit, it's not the gardener, it's actually the security guard. So it would make sense that somebody who's working as a security guard would have a gun, because like that's their job, is to protect him. And so naturally they will have a gun with them, a firearm. And so again, it's not clear, based on the affidavit, what the argument was about, but an argument happened, which led to them fighting over. They were fighting over the gun. Um, so then this again just brings us to two options, right? It might be that the gun, what Chatunga reported or is reporting, is the truth, that he it was like an altercation happened and the gun accidentally went off, or it may be that somebody intentionally pulled the gun. So if somebody intentionally pulled the gun, fired the gun, what's the reason for that? Like, were they trying to murder someone by pulling the gun, or were they just trying to like hurt someone but with no intention of killing them? So there's a lot of information that's missing with this case, and I think as the days go by, more information is going to come up, for us to be able to get a fuller picture. So I think it's going to take some time for us to get a full detailed explanation of what happened. And I think again, like, we may, and what that will look like is we will get the version from the security guard about what happened, and that will still leave us with two opposing account of what happened. And then I guess this is why people go to court, right? Like, the court system will have to decide which version to believe. And also, I guess the other thing too that's like very interesting is that they have not been able to find a gun. So somebody was shot, they were bleeding. That fact is undeniable. Like, everyone agreed, like, somebody fired a gun in the home, and as a result of that, somebody ended up being harmed or hurt. But the question now is like, where's the gun? What happened to the gun? And according to Bellamin, he said that the security guard, while they were struggling to gain control of the gun, the security guard accidentally shot himself, and then he left the house. He made his way out of the home, and I think maybe he fainted somewhere in front of the house or something like that. And and so for him, he's like, I don't know what happened to the gun. Like, he pulled the gun, he pulled the trigger, he shot himself, and then he left. Like, that's the last time I saw the gun. So don't ask me, I don't know what happened to the gun. Wait, go talk to the security guard. I'm not trying to hide anything. The gun is not in my house, it was never my gun. He brought it here with him when he came to work in the morning. He brought the gun with, he brought the gun along. So I don't know what happened to it. You have to talk to the security guard. Whether or not that is the truth, it's something, it remains to be seen, right? Um and I think also, like, if what Tachunga is reporting, that he didn't try to murder the security guard or his security guard, I think that kind of changes the dynamic of the story, because initially it comes off as like another spoiled brat, whose family has usurped Zimbabwe's wealth, and they're now living off of that. Is is now trying to kill someone, and is wanting to get away with it. Like that was the kind of like perspective, at least from me, that was the sense I was picking up, like how the case was being presented, that this is a young boy from a family of privilege that is abusing his family's name, abusing his family's influence, to try to get away with shooting someone or trying to kill someone. But as the days went on and more details became available, and he gave his account of what happened, I think it lessened the kind of sting that people had, like the kind of like I'm trying to think of a better word, like just it kind of lessened the intensity or the hatred that people had for him. I think like I was like annoyed, like, oh, he's here's another wealthy child who's gonna get away with doing something bad, right? So that came to mind. But if his account are true, it doesn't take away that somebody was shot. I mean, that everyone can empathize with that. But it leaves room for somebody to develop some type of empathy towards him. To Bellamin, I don't know if you agree with that or not. You can leave a comment, but you can kind of like feel empathetic towards him, because it's like, okay, he he didn't ask to be born into this family. Like it's a family that he was born into. Yes, they took advantage of the country's wealth, but he's a young boy, right? So he's young, he's still developing, trying to make sense of the world. So there's a room for empathy if you look at it from that perspective. But I think the concern, and I think the aversion that people have towards this in this case is just the fact that there's a possibility, because of his family's name, because of his family's influence, his family's money and connections, if indeed he's guilty, and if the especially if the guard comes out and say no, like he tried to kill me, like what he told you guys is not true, like he tried to unalive me, and then people are going to be like, well, if that is the case, is he going to use his family's wealth, his family influence to try to, you know, um, be found not guilty? And because this happens a lot in Africa, when somebody has influence, somebody has money, they can pretty much get away with everything. Like it's very rare that people of influence or fame or wealth are rarely held accountable in Africa for doing anything wrong. They usually are able to, get away with they're able to get away with the most things. Unfortunately, it's sad to say, but it does happen where people, just the court system can be bought in Africa. So I think that's the concern that people have, that he's done something wrong, and once again, his family's name and influence and money will come into play and allow him to be able to get away. Um, so if you're watching this, I want you to like leave a comment. What do you think actually is the main cause of the argument? Because we keep hearing that an argument happened, altercation, disagreement, but there's no clarity as to like what the disagreement was about. Like what was the argument about? Like, and this is the security guard. So why would somebody argue with their security guard to the extent that they're fighting physically and they're fighting over a gun? So that tells me like it has to be something pretty serious that happened. And it doesn't seem like it's an incident of like opportunity, like something that just escalated. I almost get the sense that there may have been tension building up. Um, there may have been tension building up, leading to this very day, and this was just like the breaking point of some tension that has existed in this relationship. Okay. So again, guys, remember to subscribe to my channel, share this channel with your friends and family. I'm going to be trying to post like definitely posting a video each week. I am hoping as the channel grow, that I will be able to like post maybe twice a week or more, depending on how engaged people are. And so, if you have a particular story you want me to cover, please share it with me. Email me, leave a comment in one of my videos. I do read the comments. I am pretty engaged in like interacting with my subscribers and just people who stop by. And so Bellamin, actually, what ended up happening is like he went to court. They presented his affidavit, and I think they what ended up happening, like he got charged along with his cousin, a cousin of his, also with the last name Mugabe, who was at the home, also got charged, and which was shocking because originally it said it was just Bellamin and the guard, but then there's a third person. So now it's like, okay, what role did he play? Which it's not clear, like what role this cousin played, which led to him being charged also. The report did say when the police arrived, people were being uncooperative. They were not telling a clear story as to what happened. So I wonder if the cousin was one of those people who were being very uncooperative, and then he just ended up being, charged along because of that. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think is the reason why the cousin ended up being charged also. Um, so I think the case is now, after he gave his affidavit, and the charges were read. I think the case is adjourned until next month. I think the third. I have to see if the third is like what day is the third? If it's a weekday, yes, it's a Tuesday. So I think the case goes to court next on March 3rd. And so I will keep you guys posted. I would try to keep abreast of any new updates that comes out of this case, and I'll just make another episode, I guess, especially when once the security guard gives his own account of what happened. I would definitely make an update episode to follow up on that. Okay, well, I just want to let you guys know, like, obviously this is a new channel, it's growing. I have been working really hard on it, trying to create true crime stories centering around Africa. I know it's like, true crime is huge, but generally, most of the channels out there, like, they're very like focused on the West, like America and so forth. And I just wanted to bring about African cases, because yes, Africans were loving, Africans were fun, my channel intro says, like, it's a land of mystery. A lot happens, we're not perfect. So, the same life experiences that somebody can experience in Canada or America, the same goes on in Africa. And I just want to play some role in highlighting those cases, and hopefully it would allow us to learn from each and every story that I share in this channel. And so once again, I really just would appreciate it if you can, if you're sharing this, help me grow my channel, become a subscriber, and share the channel with your friends and families. Particularly, I would appreciate your engagement in finding cases you want me to cover, like things like that. So thank you so much for watching this, and just being part of my channel and helping this grow. I every time I see somebody likes my video, they comment or share, it really just encourages me to keep on going. And so I thank you so very much for watching. And if there's anything you want to know about me, like, just feel free to leave a comment. And I would also add, I believe I already have my email in my description, channel's description, so you can send me an email if you want. Hopefully, as the channel grows, I would do like a live session where it can be like a Q&A section. People can ask me questions about myself, or just, a particular episode that you've watched, or a crime that's happened recently. So again, thank you so much for watching. My name is Kariatu. My channel's name is African Crimes and Mysteries. Thank you so much for watching, and I encourage you to subscribe. Thank you so much. Have a great day.